I18F, guess I should start from the beginning to give everyone the full picture. I met Jake, 19M, last summer at my best friend Teresa's graduation party. Teresa has been my friend since middle school and she knew Jake from her AP Computer Science class. I was actually helping set up the snack table when Jake came over to grab some chips. We started talking about random stuff and ended up spending the whole party in a corner just chatting. He was different from other guys I knew, kind of shy but really funny once he opened up. We exchanged numbers that night and started texting constantly. Jake would send me memes throughout the day and we'd stay up late talking about everything from our favorite games to our dreams for the future. He told me he wanted to become a software developer and was already learning coding on his own. I shared my plans about wanting to study veterinary medicine. After about 3 weeks of talking, he asked me out on a proper date. We went to this cute arcade cafe and played retro games all evening. It was perfect because we're both into gaming. That night he told me about his past relationships, said he'd only had 2 girlfriends before, both short-term relationships that lasted around 2 to 3 months. He explained that he wasn't really into dating much before because he struggled with social anxiety and found it easier to make friends online through gaming. I told him about my trust issues from my last relationship where my ex cheated on me with my cousin. Jake seemed really understanding and promised he'd always be honest with me. He even showed me his phone that night and said I could look through it anytime if I ever felt insecure. I thought that was really sweet and mature of him. Things were amazing for the first couple months. Jake would surprise me with little gifts related to my favorite games, he'd bring me soup when I was sick, and he even started learning about different dog breeds because he knew I wanted to be a vet. His family welcomed me right away too. His mom would invite me over for dinner at least once a week and his little sister started calling me her big sister. The only slight issue was his online gaming friends. Jake has this huge Discord server where he plays games with people from all over the world. Most of them are girls, which he explained was because he found guys too competitive and toxic in gaming. He said he made these friends during COVID when he was really lonely and they helped him through some tough times. I tried to be understanding because I didn't want to be the jealous, controlling girlfriend. Plus, these were just online friends, right? I noticed some things that made me uncomfortable, like how he had special roles and inside jokes with certain girls in the server. There was this one girl Emma who always seemed to be online whenever Jake was gaming. She'd use lots of heart emojis and call him sweet nicknames. When I mentioned it to Jake, he said that's just how gaming friends talk to each other and I was reading too much into it. Everything changed about 3 months ago. Jake started acting weird about his phone. He used to always have it face up on the table, but suddenly he started turning it face down whenever I was around. He'd take it with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. If I came near when he was typing, he'd quickly switch apps. I tried really hard to ignore it because I didn't want to be paranoid like I was in my last relationship. Then last week, Jake asked to use my gaming laptop because his PC was having issues. I let him use it to play some games with his Discord friends while I was studying. He must have forgotten to log out of Discord when he left because later that night when I opened my laptop to work on an assignment, his Discord was still open. I know I shouldn't have looked. I've always been against snooping in relationships. But I saw Emma's name with all these special colored roles and something in my gut just told me to click on their DM history. What I found made me physically sick. The messages went back over a year before Jake and I even met. They had been in what looked like a serious online relationship for 8 months. He called her his soulmate, sent her good morning texts every single day, they had phone calls that lasted hours according to the Discord logs, and exchanged lots of pictures. I scrolled through weeks of them planning their future together, talking about meeting up, and sharing every detail of their days. The worst part wasn't even their past relationship. I found messages from just 2 months into my relationship with Jake where he told Emma he missed her and wished circumstances were different. When she asked if he still had feelings for her, he said things were complicated but she'd always have a special place in his heart. They kept having these late-night conversations while I was sleeping, thinking my boyfriend was just up late gaming. When I confronted Jake, he completely broke down. He cried harder than I've ever seen anyone cry and kept saying Emma was just an online thing that wasn't real. He claimed he never met her in person so it didn't count as a real relationship. According to him, online relationships are just fantasy and what we have is real. He begged me to forgive him and promised he'd cut off contact with Emma and all his female gaming friends. I've been staying at Teresa's house for the past week trying to figure out what to do. Jake keeps calling and texting constantly. He sent me paragraphs of apologies and explanations. His mom called me crying yesterday saying Jake hasn't eaten properly in days and she's worried about him. She said everyone makes mistakes at our age and I should give him another chance. Teresa thinks I should dump him immediately. She says he's manipulating me with the crying and getting his mom involved. But my other friend Mike says I should hear Jake out because he seems genuinely sorry and everyone deserves a second chance. Mike pointed out that Jake did show remorse and offered to cut contact with his gaming friends. I really thought Jake was the one. We had so many plans together. We were going to move in together after graduation next year, adopt a dog, and build a life together. His family feels like my second family at this point. But how can I ever trust him again? Every time I close my eyes, I see those messages. I keep wondering if he was thinking about her all those times he told me he loved me. I need some outside perspective because I feel completely lost. Should I give him another chance to prove himself, or is this relationship beyond saving? Has anyone been through something similar with online cheating? Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone who commented on my last post. Reading through your experiences and advice really helped me during these past 2 weeks. A lot has happened since then, and I'm still trying to process everything. After a week of staying at Teresa's place, I finally agreed to meet Jake in person. He suggested meeting at our favorite cafe, but I chose a public park instead because I didn't want to ruin a place that held so many good memories. Teresa dropped me off and waited nearby in case things went badly. Jake looked terrible when he showed up. He had dark circles under his eyes and looked like he hadn't slept in days. He brought his phone, laptop, and even his tablet to show me he had nothing left to hide. Right there in front of me, he went through all his social media accounts and Discord servers. He deleted Emma as a friend everywhere, left all the gaming servers they shared, and removed several other female gaming friends too. He even pulled up his Discord message history with Emma and offered to let me read everything. I declined because I had already seen enough. He then offered to delete Discord completely, saying our relationship was more important than any game or online friend. I told him that wasn't necessary because the problem wasn't Discord, it was his choices. Jake had written me a 4-page letter explaining everything from his perspective. He talked about how he was really lonely during COVID and Emma was there for him. He claimed their relationship was just fantasy roleplay and he never took it seriously until she started getting emotionally attached. He said he didn't know how to end things with her without hurting her, so he just let it continue even after meeting me. The letter seemed sincere, and he was crying while I read it. He promised to be completely transparent from now on. He gave me all his passwords and said I could check his phone anytime. He even suggested we could do couples counseling if I wanted. For a moment, I actually considered giving him another chance. Then 3 days after our meeting, I got a DM request on Instagram from Emma. At first, I wasn't going to open it because I thought she was probably just trying to cause drama. But something told me to read it, and I'm so glad I did. Emma had found me through Jake's Instagram before he blocked her. She sent me a long message explaining her side of the story, and it was nothing like what Jake had told me. They hadn't just been online friends having some fantasy relationship, they had met in person 3 times while Jake and I were dating. She sent me pictures as proof. There was one of them together at some cafe I didn't recognize, another at a park, and one in what looked like a mall. All these pictures were taken on weekends when Jake told me he was visiting his cousin in the next state. He would tell me his cousin needed help moving or was going through a rough breakup, and I believed him every time. Emma said she had no idea Jake had a girlfriend until recently. She only found out when she saw his relationship status change on Facebook last month. She felt terrible about being the other woman and thought I deserved to know the truth. Then she sent me something that made my heart stop, screenshots of their conversations from just last week. In these messages, Jake was still telling Emma he loved her. He said he was only staying with me because he felt guilty about hurting me and didn't want to make me go through another breakup after what happened with my ex. He told her to be patient and that he would figure out a way to break up with me gently. I was physically shaking when I read those messages. All that crying, the letter, deleting his accounts, it was all just another manipulation. I called Teresa immediately and she came over to be with me while I confronted Jake again. This time when I confronted him, his whole demeanor changed. Instead of crying and begging, he got defensive. He admitted to meeting Emma but swore nothing physical happened between them. He said he only met her because she was threatening to hurt herself if he stopped talking to her. According to him, Emma struggles with depression and he was just trying to let her down gently to protect her mental health. I don't even know which lies to believe anymore. When I told him I had proof of his messages from last week, he tried to claim his account was hacked. When that didn't work, he switched to saying he only sent those messages to keep Emma stable until he could get her professional help. He had an excuse for everything. Yesterday, Teresa came with me to get all my stuff from his place. I had some clothes there, my favorite hoodie, and some books. His mom kept following us around, crying and saying we could work this out. She said Jake is just a confused young man who made a mistake and needs support right now. She tried to give me a letter from Jake but I refused to take it. I blocked Jake on everything, phone, social media, email, everything. But he keeps making new accounts to message me. He sent messages from at least 5 different Instagram accounts already. Some messages are angry, saying I'm overreacting and ruining his life. Others are full of apologies and promises to change. His friends have started taking sides. Some are messaging me saying I should have expected this because all gamers talk to multiple girls online. Others are apologizing for keeping his secrets and say they should have told me sooner. I feel like such an idiot for almost giving him another chance. If Emma hadn't reached out, I would have probably believed all his lies again. The worst part is that I still love him, or at least the person I thought he was. But that person never existed, it was all just another game to him. Update 2: Things have gotten completely out of control since my last update. After I blocked Jake, he started showing up everywhere I went. He would wait outside my workplace during my shifts at the pet store. When I went to my college classes, he would be sitting on the benches near my classroom building. One time he even followed me to the grocery store and pretended it was a coincidence that we were both buying milk at 10 p.m. I had to tell my managers about the situation. They were really understanding and banned him from the store. When he kept trying to come in anyway, they threatened to call the police. My college professors have been great too. My psychology professor even let me switch to a different class time to avoid Jake. Then he started sending me letters through our mutual friends. The letters got increasingly concerning. In one of them, he wrote that he couldn't eat or sleep and was thinking about hurting himself if I didn't at least talk to him. His mom started calling my parents, telling them Jake was severely depressed and it was all my fault. I was really struggling with all this when Emma messaged me again. She suggested we meet up and talk. At first, I was hesitant because I didn't want any more drama, but she said there were things I needed to know. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our towns last weekend. What Emma told me changed everything. Jake wasn't just playing us both, we were just 2 parts of his elaborate web of lies. For over a year, he maintained multiple online relationships with different girls from his gaming community. He told me Emma was just an online friend. He told Emma I was just a friend he was helping through a rough time. We were both completely clueless. Emma and I spent hours comparing screenshots and stories. She would show me conversations where Jake claimed he couldn't text back because he was at his grandmother's funeral. On the same day he told me he couldn't text because he was helping his cousin move. He used the same excuses with both of us about his phone breaking or losing internet connection. Then Emma introduced me to Ashley, another girl from the gaming community. Ashley's story was almost identical to ours. Jake had been telling her he wanted to be with her but couldn't because he was taking care of his sick mother. He even got Ashley to buy him a new gaming setup worth over $1,000 by claiming his abusive father had destroyed his computer. Through Ashley, we found Monica and Lily. Same story, different excuses. Monica actually flew to meet him once, but he stood her up at the airport claiming there was a family emergency. Lily sent him money for plane tickets to visit her, but he always had some reason why he had to cancel at the last minute. We created a group chat with all 5 of us and started putting together a timeline. Jake had been juggling all these relationships for over a year, making each of us feel special while manipulating us for money, gifts, or emotional support. He knew exactly what to say to each of us to keep us hooked. The worst part? His gaming friends knew. We found out that his closest gaming buddies used to joke about Jake's digital harem. They helped him keep track of his lies and would cover for him if he accidentally messaged the wrong girl from the wrong account. They thought it was hilarious. We decided we couldn't let him keep doing this to other girls. We gathered all our evidence, screenshots, pictures, receipts for gifts, everything, and posted it all in his gaming community. We also warned the admins of other gaming servers he was part of. His entire reputation in the gaming community is destroyed now. Several of his male friends have reached out to apologize for enabling his behavior. Some claim they didn't know the full extent of his manipulation, others admit they thought it was just harmless online flirting. Jake tried to damage control by claiming we were all just jealous exes trying to ruin his life. But the evidence was too overwhelming. He ended up deleting his main gaming accounts and making new ones, but people keep recognizing him and exposing him in new communities. His mom still defends him, saying we're all just girls who got too emotionally invested in online friendships. She claims Jake never meant to hurt anyone and we're being cruel by exposing him publicly. But we all know the truth now, Jake isn't just some confused young man who made a mistake. He's a calculated manipulator who played with multiple people's emotions and trust for his own entertainment. Teresa was right all along. I should have dumped him the moment I found those first messages. At least something good came out of all this. I've made some amazing friends through our shared experience. We're all helping each other heal and move forward. Update 3: A lot has changed since my last update. Jake ended up dropping out of college after everything blew up in the gaming community. His mom told my parents he couldn't handle the stress of seeing me on campus and dealing with all the hate online. He moved back to his parents' house and apparently barely leaves his room now. His mom still messages me at least once a week. Sometimes she sends long paragraphs about how I ruined her son's life and destroyed his future. Other times she tries to guilt-trip me by saying Jake is severely depressed and won't eat properly. Last week she even showed up at my workplace with photos of Jake from when we were dating, crying about how happy we used to be. My manager had to ask her to leave and threatened to call the police. The most surprising thing to come out of this whole mess is my friendship with Emma, Ashley, Monica, and Lily. What started as a group chat to expose Jake turned into a really strong support system. We video call every weekend to check on each other and share updates about our lives. Emma got accepted into her dream graduate program, and Ashley started her own Twitch channel. Monica is dating someone new who seems really genuine, and Lily used the money she got back from Jake to start taking coding classes. We still maintain our group chat where we help other girls who find themselves in similar situations. After our post exposing Jake went viral in the gaming community, we started getting messages from girls with similar stories about other guys. We've become kind of an unofficial support group for victims of online manipulation. It feels good to turn something so negative into something that helps others. Jake apparently made a new Discord server under a different name and is trying to rebuild his gaming community. But every time he starts getting close to new girls, someone recognizes him and warns them about his history. He tried changing his username and profile pictures, but the gaming community is smaller than he thinks. Word gets around fast. I started seeing someone new recently. His name is Alex and he's completely different from Jake. We met through a study group at college. He's totally transparent about his online activities and even introduced me to his gaming friends right away. Most importantly, he understands why I sometimes need reassurance, and never makes me feel crazy for having trust issues after what happened with Jake. Jake's mom sent me another message yesterday. She said Jake is thinking about moving to a different state for a fresh start. Part of me feels sorry for him. It must be hard having your lies catch up with you so publicly. But then I remember all the nights I cried myself to sleep while he was messaging other girls, all the money his victims spent on him, and all the emotional damage he caused. He did this to himself. Emma suggested we write about our experience for a website that helps people spot signs of online manipulation. We're thinking about it. Not to get revenge or cause more drama, but to help other people avoid going through what we did. The whole experience taught me so much about self-worth and trusting my instincts. When something feels wrong, it usually is. And online relationships and emotional affairs can hurt just as much as physical cheating. But I also learned that sometimes the worst experiences connect you with the best people. I'm doing much better now. I still have moments where I get angry thinking about everything that happened, but those moments are getting rarer. I'm focusing on my studies, my new relationship, and the amazing friendships I've made. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well and helping others avoid the same pain.